Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So going back to when I was actually doing training with Haifa, I told her that my drawing is the worst drawing ever in this whole world. So first, I'm gonna do that announcement quickly. So whenever people see this,
Picasso.
yeah, they should see that, right? So, okay, you both know that we have, let's say, a company. This is a company we're talking. This little company is basically our company right now. Okay, so we're gonna do this. This is a company. And in this company, let's say we have a firewall. So you apply to this company right now, you went in, you talk to this manager, and they say we're using ASA firewall and we have a device that's running inside our data center. It could be like it's like a Cisco device. So when I say something like that, do you know back in your head like, okay, this is like a hardware? Do you know anything about it? Like when I say it's a device, it's what comes into your mind? Is it's like this is going to be like a Cisco switch-like device, router-like device, like that, right? Like physical thing, right? From
Yeah,
Cisco.
physical. Mhm.
Physical. Okay, that's good. So when we talk about that, and let's say this is the company, they have devices, and these are clients. These are like your endpoint devices. These are the desktops, laptops inside that company, and they're directly connected right here, like in the system, like in this whole building. They're not outside right now. Okay, these are directly, Ethernet is connected to it. So the one thing I want to remind you how important it was in the beginning of Kamran's lab, before he even went to ACL, where did he get stuck? Or where did he made you guys think why was it not working? Why is the ping not working? So before,
Firewall?
no, not firewall. Because the reason I'm reminding you guys is that before you get into ACL and for all of these things to work, what is the main thing that's working over there? Networking. Just the basic networking has to work over there, right? For it to ping, for it to connect with each other, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
this is a reminder to anyone who's listening to me right now. You cannot jump into firewall learning in a very advanced learning and think you're going to learn this stuff without knowing networking. That is why we do this networking training. If you're going to get into deeper and deeper into these firewalls, you got to understand how networking works, because without that, you will not understand 50% of what it represents to you. So that's the number one thing. So this hardware is right here. When we say it's an ASA or we talk about ASA, things like that, in reality, it looks like this. So it's like a real ASA is right here on the left side. This is an actual hardware running. But since there's no like GUI right now, this is like just like a router, right? So like a switch or router type of access. So you can get into this and configure this. But if in a let's say, for example, for you guys, if somebody say we're using ASA and they say log into the ASA, as a junior level, I don't expect you to know too much of a CLI, but still you should know the basics, right? So now let's say you know the basics of that. But when we talk about getting into ASA, it's like this: ASDM. This is the software that comes with ASA. You have to configure that. You have to like go to the IP, download it, run it on this machine, and then you double click on it. And that ASA in that company, then you say, okay, as a network engineer, I know what this is. So the reason I'm saying it in this method is that I'm giving you an idea or a tip. So next time when you are finished with this whole lectures, I want you guys to do some research and find more about learning about these things, right, on your own, because that's what's going to matter. And if you look at you guys are also members, so you guys should have practice lab access. So you can ask me, what lab are you using? And I'll tell you later on, okay? I'm using this lab, and you guys can do the same practice if you want. So I'll log into the ASA right now. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. How did I log into this? Because my hardware is running right now. If my hardware was to be turned off or some issues, I won't be able to do that. So again, what is working over here? Networking. It's working because I can get to that ASA because networking is working. So again, a very important piece that I'm keep pushing right here, that you have to know that stuff first. So if you look at it right here, this is how a firewall looks like. This is a firewall that is used by many, many companies out there in the market right now. And ASA is a well-known, product. So if you know about ASA, you can go to any job. And if they talk about firewall, and if you say about something about ASA, this person is going to respect you, whether they use what are some other firewalls? What is the name of Pablo Alto? What I even forgot the
Yeah,
name.
Palo
Palo
Alto.
Alto.
Yeah, Pablo Alto. Okay,
Pablo.
so uh, so then there are many other Sophos have their firewalls. So many different type of firewalls out there, but ASA is pretty well known. That's why I want you guys, if you have the capability to get your hand on something like this, which is so real, I want you to do that, because tomorrow when you go to the interviews, you know how to handle this type of questions, and because now you have visual access to this type of stuff, right? So here, when we talk about, when he was talking about ASA, and how do we do things on an endpoint, he was blocking things on a network level. You have like, you can block things at the network level. So none of these devices that you have internally in your systems right here, they cannot go out, or they can do whatever you want them to do. You can control it from here. Where? From here, right? Just one single point. You control it from there, and all these, if you want them to be going out, then you can have them go out. If you want someone to go inside of these systems and get to it, you can do that. So that's the point of having a more of a network level firewall than a single computer based firewall, because then you're not going to each computer try to configure it. So it's good for management. It's easy for management, right? So if you come to this firewall, I'm not going to go into the ASA learning right now, but you can clearly see that there's some data going on. There's some up devices. If it was down, you would have known from here. On the bottom, you can see there are some logs going on right now. Some messages are going on. And if you go to the configuration, this is where we are talking about different type of configuration, even inside this firewall. So coming back to Haifa, your first question, what about AnyConnect? You can set up an AnyConnect on ASA like this. I'm showing you right here. VPN, Wizard, and AnyConnect is right there. So I'm going to click on it. And if I want to configure AnyConnect, I'm just going to configure this whole thing. And this is where the engineer, you configure all this stuff. And a help desk go to what? A link that is given to them so they can install an agent or a client that is coming from this ASA. Does that make sense to you now?
Yes.
So when a client will connect to a VPN from outside, it goes through this configuration, connects it, and then you have that information over here, and you can monitor things. And it's under this whole firewall, so you can actually then monitor things and do whatever you want to do with this firewall. Okay. So if we go to the firewall section, you see we have those things that Kamran was talking about, ACLs and everything like that. So if you were to set up rules and things like that, we will click here, add. But in firewalls, it's smart. It has more capabilities, so you don't have to go through a very manual process. So let's say if I want to deny something, I'm saying deny, and we use services over here. So if you come over here, you see ICMP, those are the pings one, right? If I want to do IP addresses, if I want a TCP, if I want an HTTPS, HTTP, there's so many different type of services that we can do over here. So yes, we use this. And if you go to the companies, what will happen? This will be done already. You're going to have a big list of rules out here. So imagine if you were to become a network engineer and you just got a job right now and they say we are using ASA. Isn't this going to be a problem for you if you don't know ASA? Because now your whole work depends on how things access. So if you were the engineer and everything has to be managed, any other devices, any other access, it's actually running from that level. So if you don't know it, then you're stuck. And that's very important for you to come back and learn these extra things with your networking, because no one's going to just hire you that because you know routing or switching. People are going to hire you because you know how to manage network. So this is important. So that now coming back to visual explanation, this is a company right now. We already talked about VPN. We're going to remove that because that's not a part of this thing. So let's say this guy, the CEO of this company, say, you know what? It's been 6 months. We are using ASA. There's some new technologies now, and people are using that. And people are not using this old way of logging into these firewalls. So then you say, you know what? Okay, yeah, let's call Cisco, and we're going to add a new hardware, or maybe something inside this ASA. Maybe it has a module or something like that, right? So somehow you worked with Cisco and somebody configured this whole thing. You call them, you work with them, vendor, whoever that is, you configured it. Okay, so you went to this company and now they're saying we're using ASA, but we're actually using a little modern, firewall technologies these days. So you're gonna be like, okay, what is that? They're saying we're using FMC. So for that, I'm gonna take you right here. So if you look at it here, right here, this is going straight to a FMC right now. But if you just look at it, right, Hefa and Christelle, isn't this a little modern way of looking at firewall than the first one?
Yes,
Here
much.
you have threats, you have intrusion detection, you have intents right here.
I feel like this is more user friendly.
Yes, it is. And if you look at it, it tells you exactly, then even in detail, like what kind of applications are using the most bandwidth. Microsoft Update, SCCM. There's a different type of, oh, look at this. We have this protocol that's just came out and it's actually in use right now. Okay, so SMTP, Chrome, you can come and see things right away as a network engineer who is messing with my network. If somebody was to use a lot of bandwidth and people complain about, I cannot do anything because our system is slow, in this level you don't have too much. You're going to go to the home, you're probably going to go to the logs over here and try to figure things out. Let's say you go to monitoring here, and here maybe you may go to the properties, and then you're going to come down and, you know what, I'm just going to click on connections here. So okay, this is a pretty good way too to find, okay, which machine, which IP address right here, which IP address is hogging my network, so I can clearly see what's going on over here. Same way, the new versions, the new firewalls or new systems have a little better way to tell you which machines, which protocol, which application. It has a little more control over these things. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So in a company like that, they will have something like this implemented, and then they can kind of like control things on a network level. Again, I am on a network level. I didn't mention anything about how to manage a endpoint devices yet, right? So how does that work for on an endpoint level? Right now, currently, the current trend is that you have a cloud company, like let's say a Microsoft, right? Or Cisco also have a cloud version of protecting your environment. So if Cisco is using AMP, advanced malware protection, then Microsoft is using what? The Defender, right?
Windows Defender, yeah.
Yes. So if I was to go for Cisco product, then I'm gonna go and buy a Cisco, subscription. I'm gonna log into their console, and from here, I'm going to say that I want to basically manage my endpoint devices. So it's gonna go through your network. You have to do something in your network to let it go, and you have to whitelist a lot of things, and it basically connects to the AMP, which is Cisco. Your headache is gone because these guys are way better security professionals than a normal network engineer who is not a security person, right? Because they have experts sitting right here trying to make this product better and maintain your updates and threats and things like that. All you have to do is to get the agent, install it on this device, and now what happened? You can be anywhere in the world, you can connect to AMP, and now you can control your devices, what's going on. So in terms of Microsoft, if you say, I don't want to go for this solution, I want to go for Microsoft because this is a Windows operating system, it may react to Microsoft product better, then yes, there is a possibility you're just going to go straight like from your firewall to Microsoft, and now you have a better solution. So how does that look like? I'm going to show you that here. This is an actual system, E5 from Microsoft. We use security right here, and all you have to do is to go to the security, and then you can see that you can get into these systems like very advanced stuff over here. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the security right here. It's probably gonna take some time to come up. All right, so look at this. All of these systems, this is actually a real system that I'm showing you guys. So these are all devices. These are all like, where is it connected to? Risk level is what for these two machines?
It's high.
It's high. So the point that I'm making over here is, look, in just 5 minutes, I told you that we are using different systems to manage our network. So as a network engineer, open your mindset to this, that I have to learn different technologies, because that's how real companies these days in this environment, they're working like that. And on top of that, if you have a websites running, which is a major thing in the company, I feel like you're going to become a network engineer, and there's no way you're going to get away with this, because every major companies, every normal companies have websites or products or something to be out there, right? Memberships, right? So they have websites, and how people manage websites these are. So coming back to the web application firewalls, so you may be also involved in learning some type of other technologies that you have to manage your websites and applications running inside those websites. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about, let's say, an example of Cloudflare, which is a very big company and a very well-known company. So you got Cloudflare, if you want to learn about, you got ASA, you got some of the advanced things like, let's say, Microsoft Endpoint, for like you get a trial subscription. So you got these three product on your resume, and that's the whole point that I'm making over here. If you have these three product on your resume, I will respect you when you come to my interview, right? Respect as in, I will know that you know your stuff and you're compatible in 2021 to manage my company. Does that make sense to you guys? The whole
Yes.
point,
Yes.
the whole point that I'm making over here is how you can use different well-known products to impress the other person to give you this engineering level job. So if you look at this right here, we're also looking at firewall, but this is a firewall for what? Website. So how many times my website almost got attacked, or my website says that I need to challenge you? How many times did that happen in last 24 hours?
1.62 thousand.
Yeah, and how many people that it blocked automatically?
13.
13. If you don't have systems like this, it's really hard for companies to even work these days. And especially when they are a company where they have to charge people online for products or something like that. They will get attacked like 1,000, 600,000 is nothing. You're probably looking at 10,000, 15,000 attacks every day.
Wow.
So imagine if you were to get attacked like this from an IP that changes immediately, changes after 2 minutes. Would you be able to do that on a firewall level? Like, would you be able to come over here and try to put an IP block, 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 block? Can you do that?
No, that's too much. No, it's not possible.
It's not possible, right? You got to come up with something more advanced on a network level. Yes, this may protect you a little bit of the FMC level may protect you a little bit of that, but even beyond that, we have now cloud controlling our networks. And if somebody hit our network, this is what's happening. Another company hide your company, and then they are in the front line and they block all of this stuff. So it takes that whole headache away, because I know for sure, and bring any engineer right now and ask him 5 or 10 years ago, how do you feel about the DDoS or DOS attacks? How do you feel about that? And the person will say, man, I'm about to cry right now, because it would happen and you would sit there and you would try to do everything manually, right? You would try to defend your network and you have to do this manually. But now you have this type of company, so why would someone not go for it? Because people are losing money. So yes, so the reason I'm making this, the point over here is, again, if you want to land a job, you have to add external learning like this on the side. And I'm not trying to say that you should get away from your learning right now, because you're in a network plus only right now, right? So I have given you an idea now. Now, slowly, you need to pick on certain technologies and you have to refine it, or try to at least come to a point where you can talk to a manager that I know this stuff. So I hope with this visual, I made some sense to you now, that why all of these things are important.